This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Most businesses' online presence is boring, and by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Heart Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. We can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com.
Hey everyone, this is Eric Thomas with Rival Digital, and I am proud to announce that we are the newest sponsor for the Power Women of the Trades podcast. We've been a big fan and supporter of the show for years, and we are just very excited and very honored for the opportunity to now be one of the podcast sponsors. So make sure you check out their page and subscribe to the podcast and listen in on wherever you get your podcast episodes from. Rival Digital is a full-service premier digital marketing agency for the home services industry. We offer everything from website design, search engine optimization, online advertising, public relations, and more. If you're interested in learning more about the services we offer for contractors just like yourself, head on over to rivaldigital.com, and we look forward to chatting with you.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Power Women of the Trades podcast with Cassie and Kailee.
Hi.
Today we are with Marissa Esposito with Esposito's Electric in New Jersey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes, for sure. It's New Jersey, right?
It is New Jersey.
I said New Jersey and then I was like, was it New York?
No, you got it.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. I'm excited to hear your story because I was doing some pre-reading and you are a second generation owner. Is that right?
Yeah,
so
with my brother.
Awesome. Tell us about Esposito's Electric.
So I was raised by a blue-collar dad who started our electrical contracting business in the laundry room of our childhood home, even before I was born. So really cool story. Our business is actually still in my hometown. So we've moved to a few different locations, been where we are now for about 20 years. Super exciting. We've got this great reputation in our community, all from something my dad built out of a laundry room. And today I'm a second generation owner alongside my brother. So we run the operation together.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are your duties? Like, what do you do inside of the business?
So I've done literally everything. I would
Mhm.
say for the last about 10 years, I run our HR department and then workforce development, recruitment, leadership development is really something that I've been working hard on, building career paths for our field and for our office staff. I have a marketing and graphic design degree. So I worked in that industry for just a little while before coming back home and finally agreeing to work for my dad, which I think is probably something that he never really thought was actually going to be real life. Unlike my brother, who has never had another employer before in his life, I did my fair share of kind of hopping around. And so I really started in a marketing role. I was doing our newsletter, our e-blast, our website, all of those things. And dad gave me a lot of responsibilities I wasn't necessarily ready for when it came to authority and leadership. And so my story really started way before all of those titles, where I had to show up and be seen and trusted and be credible and ask questions and listen and really just learn how to lead my staff from a perspective of influence instead of authority. And through the years and sitting in all of the roles inside of my office, I finally really made my way to this HR position, which quite honestly, had someone given me some guidance when I was younger, like, I don't
Mhm.
know, high school, a guidance counselor, I probably would have went into human resources anyway. Like it is just, it's me. It's perfect for
Yeah,
me.
that's awesome. So, size wise, like how many trucks do you guys operate in at Esposito? Just gauging,
Yeah.
you know.
We have about 35 trucks that are on the road full
Okay.
time. So we do full service. We
Yeah.
have a generator department. We do installation, sales, maintenance, warranty. We do residential, commercial, industrial, high voltage. So we really do it all. And I would say that we've even become the electrician's electrician locally. And so other electricians will reach out to us to do specialty work that they're not qualified for. And so that's great. We've been around now for 42 years. So it's just been a long time. And we've got some really great reputation, which to tie back into the work that we're doing, the trucks on the road, it really allows us to stay really consistent with our work. And so we've got a great crew. It's just, it's awesome.
That's awesome. That's really
That's
cool.
awesome.
I think it's always like, I always say it doesn't matter what size you are, but it's nice to know like when we're building a picture, like the image of like what
Yeah.
you're operating, kind of like what you're doing there. So that's really cool. I am like so intrigued by, we talk to people all the time who got into the space. Either, it was family or it was, married in or whatever. So I always like the perspective of growing up with it. So
Yeah.
how has,
Ooh.
how do you think the trades have changed from then to now?
That's a really good question. I have been thinking about this because, lucky for me, my dad raised me exactly the same as my brother, right? Like, gender was never an issue for me growing up. Dad didn't let it be. I don't even know if it was something that he considered. Like, we were just one and the same, and we're 4 years apart. So I'm the older sister. And I share that because I truly grew up inside of our business, like
Mhm.
after school, weekends. Dad, for the first 10 years of the company, was doing everything he could to build the business. And so that just meant that I was there always. And so even seeing the change in, gosh, technology, recruitment, the way that we manage our shop and our material, and what people had to do back then because of the lack of technology and new ways to actually get work done, right? I just even think about what it was like to stock our shop. Like, I was
Mhm.
physically helping doing all of these things, and now, like, even just the way that, people are coming into the industry in these helper roles or the shopkeep role, like, that's been really interesting for me to kind of watch alongside. And I would say that, gosh, the change in mentality back then and, working hard and working all day and always being on your feet and never asking for help and never admitting when you had a problem and not wanting to share your wins because it seemed like you were bragging.
Mhm.
All of those things have really changed, and I see that a lot in my role.
Yeah, for sure. I like to hear that too because, like, my daughter has, where you're probably thinking that,
Yeah.
like, I could see you shaking. My daughter is a shop baby. Like, she has been here since, like, she was a baby. When her swing was here, she comes here
Mhm.
every day after school. I always say she might even cuss a little because she's heard a lot,
Uh-huh. Yep.
like, so, and I always, just kind of hope that, and I hope and pray that she has your perspective that you have now on the other
Yeah.
side, because they be growing up in the business like that, people don't realize how much the kids sacrifice in some ways, because it's like, oh, well, your parents own that, so you must have this or do this. And it's like, yeah, they might, but they are having to live around this 24/7.
Yeah.
If people don't show up, we're doing the work, we have to go do it. And that means kids are in tow. And so it's a big sacrifice for the kids.
Yeah. And I would say too, in what I was talking about with this change, even just in positions, like us realizing that having somebody, we employ an apprentice through the work study program always that goes to our local county vocational school and they work in our shop. So we call them like a shop helper or a shopkeep. And even just that change and knowing that there's so much value in a position like that when you're starting out in the industry, in the trades, has
Mhm.
been really successful for our company in teaching that person like all of the materials and the tools and knowing how to actually go outside and grab something from the van. And it's something I think about a lot because I work closely with this person. And even just seeing the change from, being the shop helper myself at 6 years old with pink work boots on, like the change in the industry and being able to actually help each other has been huge and something that I really do a lot of reflection on, especially as I'm coaching our current apprentices and helping them understand like what all of those career pathways look like for them. And if you didn't grow up in a blue collar family, you don't necessarily know what that history is unless somebody is sharing it with you. And I think there's a lot of value in understanding those stories. And again, just the history of what all of that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how has the company changed from your parents' leadership era to your leadership era?
My dad is an authoritative leader through and through, and I have a lot of respect for that. I mean, he built our company to be exactly what it is now, and I will forever be grateful. I am not. I am not authoritative. I am very much collaborative, conversational. I want to talk with staff. I want to know how they're feeling. My brother teases me all the time. He's like, "You don't have to ask everyone how they're feeling or what they ate for breakfast this morning." I'm like, I absolutely do. Like, that is such a big part of who I am and how I lead. And gaining that credibility has been so important for me. And like building allyships, even just across my own business and getting buy in from my senior staff. So I would say, that my dad had some really, really close relationships with his original staff members, and some of them are still on staff today, which is like incredible. We have someone that's been with us for almost 40 years. I've got a ton of others that have been with us for 35 plus. So, authoritative leadership certainly worked for my dad. I think it also speaks to what the industry was like 30 years ago, 40
Mhm.
years ago, right? Like there was a lot of job site bullying that was happening. Not saying my dad was a bully, just saying that was like part of that whole mentality. And that's not something that flies any longer. And going back to just the leadership change from what it was like for my dad versus what it is now like for my brother and I, we are yin and yang. He is very much a leader the way that my dad was, and I'm clearly the opposite. I think some of that has to do with being a woman. I think the emotional intelligence that I just inherently have,
Mhm.
or my ability to have a conversation or understand things from a different perspective and an out of the field perspective has been really helpful in gaining traction and really having staff that is happy and wants to stay at our company.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
such Oscar, my husband has been in the industry for over 30 years. And I don't feel like we have this conversation as much anymore because I feel like locally, for sure, our tradespeople have kind of got it. But anytime we interview someone that might have been in this space over 20 years, we always have to have a really intentional conversation of like, we're a really culture driven company. We don't treat each other like crap. No one's your hand or your,
Mhm.
your bitch or whatever, because that
Yep.
was the industry for so long. You like fought to get your card so then you could be that person to the next thing. And I think that there's a little bit of learning and like you got to pay your dues, but you don't have to treat them like crap. But that was the industry for a
Mhm.
long time.
A very long time. And
Mhm.
gosh, I just want to go back to that technology aspect too, because I feel like that has changed so many things. And even just the introduction of like the iPad, right? Like we got iPads for our field staff about 15 years ago, and it was a gigantic hurdle just getting them to understand that they could do things electronically. And obviously that's not an issue any longer, but seeing the transition in field staff, especially, and having to accept things that were changing in the outside world was a very interesting thing that shifted that I was part of. It's almost where like HR became part of my role originally, because now I was working with our field staff and like training them to do new processes and understand new things that were entirely unrelated to the physical labor of being an electrician.
Yeah, for sure. The technology thing always cracks me up because I remember when we went from paper to technology, right? We went to House Call Pro originally. And I thought you would have thought I was making them take like the ACT, you know?
Yeah.
This is not that hard. But
And it's so
now
funny.
it's funny how that's come a long ways. Now it's like not even a second thought, right? Like, obviously we're going to do it. And as we've introduced, I thought we were going to have a really hard time introducing AI, and our team, thankfully, and I think maybe because we've been proactive in a lot of things. I've always said we're a technology driven company. So maybe they just expect it, but we haven't had a lot of kickback on like AI because they're like, they have seen it work. But I just go back to those days. I'm like, oh man, I remember when they're like, what do you mean I have to put the price? Where's the price?
Even it was probably 4 years ago, we moved our residential and generator departments to Service Titan. And my older staff in those departments like really, really struggled with the idea that they could not put pen to paper any longer. And obviously customers love it. Like Service Titan is a great program and has changed the way that we run those departments for the better. But gosh, I laugh about this stuff all the time. Like just growing up in the trades, but then even just seeing how much has changed in the last 10 years is something to reflect on. Like I even just think about the new leaders within my company, and they're all younger leaders that are moving up in their careers, and we've set up these career pathways through coaching and our appraisal processes and meeting frequently, and they all are accepting the introduction of things like AI. And I feel really grateful for that because it has changed even the way that we're doing marketing, or my safety director is using AI to just poke holes in safety plans to see if there's anything that he's missing. And we're all better off because of that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So going back to how you said you were in marketing and then you went back home to work in the family business, how did that come about? Like what happened that day where you're like, I don't know if marketing's for me anymore and I want to go back to my family?
Yeah. So the company that I was working for relocated to New York City, and I'm not a city girl. Like I'm a Jersey girl through and through. I'm not interested in commuting for half of my day just getting there. So I chose a layoff instead, and I moved back home to live with my parents in the meantime. And I love telling this story. So I would run on the treadmill at night. I was interning at a vocational school in their marketing department that my dad set me up with so that I could understand more what marketing for the trades would be like. This is a vocational school that has like several different trades programs. Okay, running on the treadmill at night. My dad would stand at the front of the treadmill and convince me every night why I should come and work for his company. And so finally, like weeks later, I agreed if he gave me unlimited paid time off and paid off my credit card debt, which at the time was like $2,000. And so, not necessarily big money, but to a 20-year-old, it was huge money. And so now I regret that I didn't ask for like $250,000, but here I am. And
You're
so
like, doing it.
yeah. I will be 40 this year, so I will officially be with our company for 20 years, and that just feels, I don't know, like a blink of an eye. I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old who are now growing up inside of the company too, and it's what second generation is all about.
Through all this stuff, like, I'm sure you've seen or you felt all the private equity stuff that's come through. And, for me, people are like, why won't you sell? Why won't you do this? Yada, yada, yada. That's what you have to do. And we actually, just talked to someone last week on that we interviewed on the podcast, and she said, what if we just built companies that were made to last and not, because the saying is build them like built to sell, right? And like, why don't we build them to keep? And seeing my kids grow up in this space, you know, I have a son. We have a couple kids that work in the trades now. We have 6 kids of all ages, but one of my kids is about to start college, and he's like wants to do pharmacy, and I'm like, that's fine, but let me just thought provoke you for a minute. What if you went into accounting and you were, you know, a future CFO for our brands? And he was like, actually, I hadn't thought about that because I thought I just had to be a plumber. I'm like,
There we
what?
go.
You know, like what? And so there's just so much opportunity. But like, what if we build businesses to keep and we go back to the basics and we go back to doing things that our kids should be proud of, you know?
And I think that that's a really good point to make. And I'm an example of that, right? Again, like I was mentioning before, had someone had given me a little bit more guidance of the things that I could have done, and I don't regret having a marketing or graphic design degree. I think it's made me better at my job because I understand those things. I know how to market our business and myself, but I ended up going back and getting my master's in human resources because there was so much information I didn't understand. And I run an HR department of one, but which is, you know, a challenge all in its own. And being able to think now ahead of time of, you know, that accountant role or anything else that lives inside of a company. What about a project manager that doesn't necessarily need to have field experience, or that estimator, or anyone else? Like there are just so many roles available. And as a side note, I want to laugh for a second about this. My 10-year-old daughter is in an entrepreneur club at school, which just makes our whole family laugh because she literally is growing up in a family of entrepreneurs. Her dad, her stepdad, my dad, everyone. And she tells me all the time that not is she going to be my boss when she grows up, but she's going to be my brother's boss when she grows up. So like, go girl. Love it.
I love that.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.